What if I told you the super soldier serum was the least important thing about Captain America? We see the shield, the muscles, the superhuman feats, and assume that's what makes the hero. But what if the man who made it all possible knew the truth? That the serum wasn't the answer. The man was. The entire premise of Project Rebirth was to create the ultimate soldier, but the scientist behind it, Abraham Erskine, wasn't looking for the strongest or bravest warrior. He was looking for a good man. My theory is this: Steve Rogers was always Captain America. The serum just let the world see what Erskine already knew. And if Steve hadn't taken it, the hero we know would have been replaced by something far more dangerous. But what if I told you there's an even bigger reason for this? Stick around to the end, because it changes everything. And let's break it down. Before the Vita-Rays ever touched him, who was Steve Rogers? He was a guy who got beat up in alleys for standing up to bullies. He was the only recruit who dove on a grenade to save men who had been mocking him moments before. This wasn't a calculated move, it was pure, unfiltered instinct. It was self-sacrifice. That's the core of Captain America, right there in that training exercise. The serum didn't give him that courage. It was already there, packed into a small frame. Erskine saw it. He knew the serum was an amplifier. It enhances everything about the recipient, good or bad. He says it himself. The strong man who has known power all his life may lose respect for that power. But a weak man knows the value of strength and knows compassion. The serum made Steve stronger, faster, and more durable, but it also amplified his innate goodness, his compassion, and his unwavering moral compass. It took the best parts of him and turned them up to 11. Now I know what you're thinking. Without the serum, he'd just be a good man who couldn't stop a tank. And you're right, he wouldn't be a physical powerhouse, but his greatest weapon was never his body, it was his mind. He's a tactical genius who can calculate shield trajectories in milliseconds and outthink alien armies. The serum may have enhanced his brain's processing power, but it didn't install his strategic brilliance or his ability to inspire loyalty and hope. Those were qualities he always possessed. This isn't just a theory. The MCU has shown us exactly what happens when the wrong person gets the power. Look at the Red Skull, a man whose evil was magnified into a world-ending threat by an early version of the formula. Or, for a more perfect comparison, look at John Walker. Here was a decorated soldier, physically capable, and hand-picked by the government to be the next Captain America. He had the title and the shield, but he didn't have Steve's heart. He was driven by ego and insecurity. When he finally got his hands on a vial of the serum, it didn't make him a hero. It amplified his aggression and his entitlement, culminating in a horrific public execution that desecrated the very symbol he was meant to uphold. Walker is the ultimate proof of Erskine's theory. He is the ghost of what Captain America could have been without Steve Rogers, and that brings us to the biggest what if. If Erskine's first choice, Steve, had been rejected or had failed the procedure, the military wouldn't have just stopped. They would have moved on to the next candidate. And that candidate would have been someone who looked like a hero on paper, not the skinny kid from Brooklyn. They would have created their John Walker, but back in the 1940s. A state-sanctioned weapon without Steve's moral compass, representing America on the world stage. The world wouldn't have gotten a selfless protector. It would have gotten a superpowered bully. In the end, the serum was just a tool. It was a key that unlocked potential, for better or for worse. The real super soldier was Steve Rogers himself, his unshakable character, his strategic mind, and his willingness to lay down his life for others. The world wasn't saved by a vial of chemicals, it was saved by a good man who was finally given the strength to fight on the scale he always deserved. But what do you think? Does this theory hold up? Or was the serum the one thing that truly mattered? Is there another character from that era who you think would have been worthy of the shield? Let me know your theories in the comments below.